Okay, today I wanted to make a video understanding the different types of knockdowns that are currently in this game. There are a few different variations that need to be looked into. The first one is a regular knockdown. These can often have combos that can come out of like the end of them if you are fast enough. And you can tell what a regular knockdown is because he does not get knocked to the floor. He instead looks back at you and like holds his hands up. That means he's in a regular knockdown state. And this means that follow-ups are possible if you are able to get them in that allotted time. Now, a hard knockdown is when the knockdown value of your opponent has gone above 500. In which case, Froppy's beta in this game does roughly around 250 to their knockdown value. Which means after 2 beta hits, they should receive a hard knockdown. And it will look very different on GP.
That's all?
See how he immediately got knocked to the ground instead of simply being pushed back? That is because he had reached the maximum knockdown value and had been knocked down. And in that state, he is invincible. There is no getting any more damage onto him after he has reached the hard knockdown state until he gets back up from that said state. Until he gets off the ground and he loses his iframes. This is likely to prevent melees from being straight up infinites.
Barely felt that.
Froppy's probably a pretty bad example for this, but yeah, that's probably the point of it, is to prevent melees from being straight up infinites. And it also explains why certain characters, like Full Bullet, don't have a knockdown on their first alpha, but if they do 2, it has a knockdown. That's because that's a hard knockdown. And Full Bullet's alpha, each pellet, has a knockdown value of 50. See there? So once you hit 10 pellets within a short enough time frame, it will hard knock them down. But otherwise, it won't knock them down. And then you can wait a bit and land even more damage. Additionally, this is what allows things such as beta cancel gamma to work, is because beta doesn't actually send them into a hard knockdown state. Neither does gamma. Even though it looks like he might have been there, he was on HP, so the knockdown state looks very different. As for HP, it can be very tough whenever somebody's in a knockdown state. The best way I could showcase it is probably by using Full Bullet to showcase what happens when somebody gets a knockdown value set up to 500 while they are already in a regular knockdown state on health. Dang it, Mario, can you work with me here? Okay. I'll head up here and do it to Ochako. But basically, their direction that they are being sent will change. You see that? Received a stagger, and after that stagger, they are invincible to all damage. That is also why I was only able to land 63 damage from the second alpha, as the gamma had already provided a knockdown value of 100 added onto Ochako, thus making all alpha pellets after the 3 that landed unable to connect, since that would have been past the 500 threshold on the knockdown value. Additionally, some characters will have these like knockdown values changed in updates. Bakugo has received a knockdown value on his alpha in a semi-reducing patch. This means after 10 alphas, he will knock down. This is because each alpha has a knockdown value of 50. The knockdown value of beta is roughly 350, because he still gets 3 alphas after before the knockdown. You can go over the value, as shown by going with 2 betas, but any value over 500 will also cause a hard knockdown. Now, it is worth noting what necessarily triggers a hard knockdown. Hard knockdowns are like very different from regular knockdowns, as I hope I have shown, but there is like some caveats to the hard knockdown system. The first one is that the value will only stay for simply a few seconds. And it is actually based on whether or not you are taking damage. It is very weird. But I will showcase, this is roughly about how fast a full bullet can shoot an opponent. I received the knockdown there because I shot a little too quickly. But a full bullet can shoot decently quickly as the knockdown value is resetting in between those alphas. Now if I go to somebody else with a high knockdown damage on their alpha, but they also have a static effect on them, you'll notice a very big difference. I can sit here and wait for the flames to end, and it will still knock down. That's over twice as long as how much full bullet had to wait for. This is because burn effects, as well as any sort of passive damage effects, also will prevent the knockdown value from resetting. This actually is a decent nerf to Purple Todoroki's alpha, in my personal opinion, because it means he can't do like a peak shot and then come back later and do another peak shot. He can't do that type of stuff. He can't wait for his alpha to not knock down in specific situations because the burn effect will prevent that from working. Yeah. Additionally, that's also why doing this knocks down. This is because the ice has a high knockdown value as well. And this is why you can do that for a freeze into alpha. But notice how that second alpha only did 128. That's because one tick of the ice connected, and then the alpha also connected. Because in that original freeze, they'd only gotten hit by one tick of the ice.
Firepower!
So, I hope that you have learned a little bit from this video as to how knockdowns work in this game. It also doesn't really work too well for Shiggy either, as he cannot quickly stack betas on betas. He has to either go for the knockdown or simply do a combo. But every attack in this game has a knockdown value. Some of them you will never notice because they are a knockdown value of 10. In the case of Yellow Deku here, I will show you right now. I land 4 melees, each of which are a knockdown value of 10. Or not 10, 100. You will notice, after a bunch of alphas, that they will have a hard knockdown effect added to them. This is because Deku's alpha actually has a knockdown value of 10. Any move that does damage will have a knockdown value attached to it. The knockdown value of 10 on Yellow Deku's alpha is almost never noticeable, as about the worst thing it'll do is let your Bakugo only hit 9 alphas instead of 10, as the incredibly low knockdown value almost never actually matters. Now, there is one more knockdown value, there's one more knockdown state that I can only really showcase if I play Toga, but it does happen sometimes whenever you are playing Strike Dabi. Strike Dabi is, as far as I'm aware, the only one in the game who can currently activate this specific knockdown state. And this is a anti-wakeup. It does not necessarily mean you are immune to damage, but you are not allowed to do your air wake up until you hit the ground. You have to do the grounded wake up.
Looking for...
This is likely due to them wanting to make Strike Dabi's beta more consistent. So whenever he lands it, the opponent enters a state where they can only do a wake up after they have touched the ground. This actually leads to some pretty weird stuff that can occasionally happen if you are Strike Dabi and you don't land your hit properly.
Even stronger!
I will attempt to showcase it now.
I'll show you! Give it everything!
Alright, now that he's up here, I switch back to Toga in order to make this easier.
Here I come!
And let's put him on GP. Since people know that opponents on GP are forced to do their auto recovery as soon as they can. See? He is not doing his auto recovery. That is because he cannot. Whenever you are in this state, you cannot do your auto recoveries in the air, no matter how far of a distance that you fall. There are some moves that have a little bit of this attached to them. The first one that comes to mind for me is Twice's beta. After he lands it, there is a decent amount of time where you cannot do your wake up. This is likely to help Twice out with the combo, but he cannot do his wake up there, making this true.
I'll just make some more.
It allows you to connect like an alpha after, but believe me, whenever they are in the air, eventually they will gain the ability to do their early wake up again. It's kind of hard to showcase this because the Twice clone keeps preventing it from happening. I'm gonna see if I can do it by getting the two of them close together.
Underestimate me.
All you got?
You see, they do eventually do their early wake up,
Feeling good?
but it is a lot more delayed than most other attacks are in this game. There are a few other attacks that follow that ruling as well. However, I do not remember them off the top of my head. I do think Ida's Alpha is one of them, as there's a decent amount of delay on it. This is intended to make his combos easier to do and connect more reliably.
How's this?
As you will notice here, by doing beta, they wake up fairly quickly, but by doing an alpha, there's a decent amount of delay on it. This is presumably another value that is in the game's code, but we do not have leaks for these exact values, as how long you could be, like the stagger value, I guess is what I would call it. But yeah, I think that's about all I can say on knockdowns. I mean, I could go a bit more in depth on what happens after you do your wake up, but I think I'll save that for another video, since that seems like something that is a lot more present and something a lot more people would find interest for than this video. Alright, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something you didn't already know. And yeah, peace out.